Getting hired at the Apple Store is incredibly competitive. So ideally, you wouldn't make any of the job interview mistakes I'm about to share with you in this video. In today's video, I'll give you 6 common mistakes that people make in the Apple Store interview process so that you can avoid them. Make sure you stay around to the end because the last one is key and a lot of people make this mistake. Let's go. Now, some of you are wondering, but Ben, how do you get this information? How do you know people are making these mistakes? First and foremost, I interview a lot of people who interview with the Apple Store, and they go through the process and they end up getting the job. It's how I get the questions and it's how I make these videos. But as I'm going about and I'm talking to these people, I've started to hear a common theme. They're sharing with me what other people are saying in the group interview and advice they have to give to people who are going to be interviewing, and I've noticed some of these mistakes have come up time and time again. So I'm going to share them with you today so you can avoid making them. Now, the first major one is not asking questions. So Apple does a group interview. And in this group interview, sometimes it's in video, sometimes it's in person, you get to see how other people interview, what they do, and how they present themselves. And one of the things people have told me over and over again is they'll get to the part where the Apple Store manager goes, "Do you have any questions for us?" And a lot of them don't. And then, not surprisingly, they probably don't move forward unless they were amazing in the interview. But if you've watched any of my prior videos, you know I always say you need to ask questions. And it turns out it's absolutely a differentiator. So if you come to the Apple Store interview with 5, 6, 7 good questions, and the people you're competing with in the group interview have none, you are absolutely gonna stand out in a super positive way. So don't make that mistake. Bring questions to the interview. Recently, I talked to someone who was in the group interview and they shared with me a mistake I couldn't believe somebody made. She had her video off. Can you imagine doing a group interview and you're on camera, another person's on camera, one more person's on camera, but then the 5th person, they're not on camera? What chance do they have to land the job? If you are in an Apple group interview or any virtual interview with someone from Apple, do not leave your camera off. If you leave your camera off, you might as well close your laptop because you are not getting that job. Recently, I was interviewing someone who got a job at the Apple Store, and one of the things he said to me that was kind of funny is that somebody else who was in the interview process was basically using some of my answer examples word for word. And I totally get wanting to do that. It makes sense, like, okay, Ben shared with us the question, I'm gonna give the answer he gave, but you need to make it fit for you. If you don't make it fit for you and make it your own, put your own spin on it, give it your own remix, it's not gonna sound authentic. So take what I'm doing in terms of giving you the questions they're asking and giving you examples, but then make it your own. That way it sounds real, it sounds authentic, and it doesn't sound too rehearsed. At the end of the day, Apple is looking for authenticity. And if you're just memorizing an answer and you're just saying something, specifically if it doesn't really apply to you, they're gonna see through that and it's not gonna be appealing. So make sure you don't do that. So I was DMing with someone on Instagram. If you don't follow me there, here it is, go follow me there. And he was telling me about his interview process. And he said he was in an in-person group interview and there was a break and a lot of people were engaging. So he engaged with some of the staff that was there and he was talking to them. And he said one of the other people was off in the corner on her phone, just texting away, TikToking away, whatevering away. And don't do that. If you are in the store and there is a break, and you have an opportunity to mingle and make a connection with the other employees, ask them questions, talk to them, introduce yourself, do that. Maximize that break. Do not just waste that opportunity and kill time on your phone. As soon as you leave, you can kill all the time you want on your phone, but when you're there, be in the zone. People who comment on my Apple videos and they give advice, give the same advice over and over and over again. They give plenty of advice, but one of the things I always hear is be yourself. You know, Apple wants to hire people who are engaging, who are authentic, who are friendly, who are approachable, and they want people who give off a bit of their unique personality. It's part of what makes Apple cool. So when you go into the interview process, be yourself, right? Make sure you are friendly, you are open, you're connecting with people you're approaching, but make sure you weave some of what makes you into the interview process. That makes you seem, again, really approachable, makes you seem real, and it makes it easier for them to see you as a person instead of just a number, instead of just another candidate. Ah, that's Ben. He shared a little bit about himself. I feel connected to that person. So make sure, you don't just try to be the perfect candidate, the perfect person. Make sure you give them a little bit of what makes you you. The last piece of advice that I've gotten for people who have gone through the Apple process is you don't need to be a crazed Apple fan, okay? You don't need to go there and be the most obsessed person in the world. There's a difference between being obsessed with Apple and being a brand advocate and a fan, right? Those are two very different things. This is a lot healthier than this. So when you go in there, don't be a crazed Apple fan. Instead, be a normal person interested in working with Apple because you love their products. But again, you're not a crazed Apple fan, you're a brand advocate. Make sure you find the balance here, and you're more in this camp than that camp, trust me. Now this video is done, but I want you to watch this one right here. This one is a brand new interview question that they are asking at Apple. I have found it so interesting to see the new questions that Apple is weaving into their interview process, and they are interesting, they're dynamic, and they're challenging. But if you know the question before you interview, you have a much better chance.